So hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today, Routing for Reliability. This is part of our webinar series on business transformation. These are live webinars with Q&A, and we are very pleased today to welcome our guest speaker, Rob Arseneau, who's a maintenance and reliability expert with a lot of experience in the field. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you very much, Julie.
So we are going to move to the meat of the presentation shortly, but before that, just a few housekeeping and action items for follow-up. So these webinars are presented in partnership with smartQED and ProSolver. If you are unfamiliar with these companies, you can check us out on LinkedIn, smartQED and ProSolver. And thank you for taking the time to attend and listen to this webinar. To participate, you can contribute as a speaker. Just send me an email either on LinkedIn or julie@smartqed.ai. And to take the next steps for your business or enterprise, we offer team workshops and corporate consulting through our partners. For that, you can either find Ron on LinkedIn, Ron Spencer at smartqed.com. Email also will work. So I would love to hear from you, and we would really appreciate you following our pages, following Rob, so that you stay tuned to all our activities and events that we are organizing with the help of the community. This is all a community effort. Community experts speak to the people in the community. So here's our guest speaker today. Coming back to Rob. Rob, would you please share with our audience your background and experience in this area?
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. Over the last 40 years, starting in the trades with industrial mechanics, welding, and machining, I progressed to a career in power engineering and pulp and paper, and also mechanical engineering, and began my maintenance and reliability career in the paper industry. From that, I continued on with the graduate diploma in engineering and maintenance management, and then finishing that off with a master's degree in reliability. I just recently retired from a big oil and gas company, and most of that time I spent as the enterprise reliability specialist and governance around documents, standards, and then also moved into a project to upgrade SAP S4, so configuration of the plant maintenance system as it relates to all maintenance and reliability aspects. So I do look forward to sharing some things around the digital transformation and AI today.
Yes, that's wonderful. And welcome again. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and the community. So why don't we get started with the real meaty questions, which is, Terry, do you want to ask Rob the first question?
Sure. So what are some of the challenges you faced in your work, and how have you addressed them?
Well, thanks, Terry. I've got 5 major challenges. There's lots of challenges in industry, especially in the maintenance and reliability space, but I'm going to cover 5 of them. And 1 is resources, 2 is reliability and what it is, 3, the pressure to digitally transform your company, 4, competence, and 5 would be an overarching multi-generational roadmap. Unfortunately, in this day and age, and for the last 40 years that I've been working, we've always ran out of resources before we ran out of opportunity to improve. I mean, we're going to run out of people and money, and everybody is trying to do a better job finding more opportunity, and not doing a great job in figuring out how do we execute to those opportunities and get through them so we can keep going. And I believe that AI is going to pose a big problem there, because AI will do it faster and cheaper. And where we need to execute work is going to be rather important to keep the trades from wearing out. So part of that issue is to prioritize work, right? So number 1 is we can do predictions all we want. AI is going to do a great job in that. And what we have to do from an AI perspective, and what we've done, is create a prioritization system where we're doing the right work at the right time with the right people. And so that becomes a big issue in making sure that the resources are used correctly. So that's one. Number two is, what is reliability? In the last 30 years that I've specialized in reliability, it never fails to present itself that reliability is a buzzword. And a lot of people really don't know what it is or what it measures or how to fix it. And so that's a big challenge when we're now moving into the world of AI and we want to get that Staples easy button where we hit it and everything becomes easy. We really need to go back to the basics and make sure that we cover that off. And when I say basics, I don't mean once we get to medium and advanced, we get rid of the basics. The basics are actually the foundation of all things, and we have to build on that. So making sure we understand what reliability is a challenge. And so what we've done is made sure that we put on training. We have 3 tiers of training. We have executive leadership training in the boardroom stuff. We have mid leadership level training for reliability. We also have practitioner training. And that ends up being over 3 days just to get people to understand what is maintenance, what is reliability, and how does it all contribute to the availability, uptime, quality, and overall equipment effectiveness. The third one is the pressure to digitally transform our companies. Everybody thinks that moving to digital transformation means we can stop doing all the other stuff we don't understand and move forward. We have to challenge the why we're digitally transforming. If we're digitally transforming and moving to AI, the issue is all that stuff requires good quality data, master data, transactional data. And if that's not present today, then digitally transforming your company is going to be a challenge. What we've done is we've done some audits and prepared those so we can go in and look at your future ready for digital transformation. Where is your best opportunity to improve? Does it support your business? And does it make sure that it's aligned with all the other initiatives that you have going on? So making sure that you're future ready and data ready is critical in that aspect. So making sure that that is done first to make sure that it doesn't become a challenge later. And making sure that when you do all this work, you're not creating a lot of customizations in your softwares to make sure that it's easily updated and patched. So you're not really spending a lot of money future. 4 is reliability. Reliability in itself is a role. And industry, unfortunately, spends a lot of time putting reliability in titles and not into the competence or qualifications. And I think there's a big difference between reliability as a title, competence, and qualified. And right now, I've been spending a lot of time understanding how job postings are made. And over 95% of all job postings for reliability require a degree or experience that is unrelated to reliability. So unfortunately, this perpetuates the problem of having competence in your sites. So what we've done is in the past is made sure that our job descriptions require reliability and reliability competence, i.e. certifications, diplomas, or degrees in reliability. And where that is a low-level entry position, we provide the training once you get there. So that becomes a big issue because we can't expect our finance department to do a good job if they're not trained in finance. We can't expect our legal departments to do good in the courtrooms if they're not trained in law. So we can't expect reliability people with that in their title to perform at a high level if they're not trained in reliability, competent and qualified. The second challenge is people tend to chase a lot of the buzz things of the year. And what we really need is a good long-range roadmap. Understand where you are current state, where you want to be future state, prioritize the tasks to achieve your future state vision, and then dispel them out into a mature approach. So don't go to quartile 1 in one area, quartile 3 in another. Make sure your whole processes come up at an even pace. And that's a challenge because it's not something that contributes right directly to the asset's performance right away. It's an investment. And unfortunately, in industry, people are not looking for long-term investments, they're looking for short-term gains. And unfortunately, we miss out on a lot of this good stuff. And we always regret in the end where we'll put a new project in and then they cut the documents, the standards, the procedures, and then the competence training, and we get running. And then we wonder why in a year and a half, 2 years, we're revisiting this stuff because there is no governance set up for this. So having that roadmap where it will cover people, process, technology, and data covers all this stuff to make sure that you don't lose your gains when you move forward. So those are the 5 major challenges that I see and what I've done to address them. And I think they're critical. I think these basics that we talk about every day are the foundation, and they're not to be removed, they're to be built upon.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. Thank you for listing the challenges. I totally agree with all of them, including that, you need to be trained for reliability, and you need to have standards. You have to keep up with the standards, right? Cannot just think of short-term gains. That is a big problem, I think, these days. Nobody wants to think long-term. Okay, so here's the next question from me. For those who want to improve the reliability of their product or services, what would you say should be their primary focus?
That's a great question, Julie. And I'm going to go back to one of the challenges. What is reliability? If you want to improve reliability, you have to understand it. And I always go back to I don't know if this may be a bad reference, but I always think about Winnie the Pooh, the little cartoon where they're always out hunting for this animal called the Huffalump, but nobody's ever seen one but they're hunting for it every day. And I look and I always think of that when people talk about reliability. Everybody's trying to improve reliability, but if you ask them what it is, they don't know. How do you measure it? They don't. What is it all about? They don't know. So they're out there hunting for a Huffalump, and then they're doing all this work, and they keep saying, well, we got good people. And I said, yes, you got good people, but they're not doing the right things. Good people can do the wrong things all the time. And so for those that want to improve reliability, the first step would be to understand it. Reliability is an understanding of a failure rate at which your service or your product or your assets are not performing their intended function. So when you want to start improving reliability, you have to understand your downtime. So what we did was we documented 440 minutes a day. I had to document all the uptime, 100% quality to partial quality, partial uptime, and then full downtime, and then all the reasoning behind it, right? So this is where, if you want to improve your reliability, you have to understand all your uptime and downtime, and then find out your failures, define what a failure is. What is a failure to this company? Is it a failure of service? Is it a failure of asset production? And then make sure that when you do have a failure, it becomes the silver lining, i.e., we have strategies and programs to make sure we don't fail. But when we always seek perfection there, but we know we're never going to achieve that. So when we have a failure, that becomes the silver lining. That failure is an insight into your strategy on how to manage that asset. Did we have a strategy for that failure? Yes, wasn't good enough. Or no, we missed that opportunity. So that silver lining now becomes, how do we improve our strategies? And when you have that failure, you just don't make a strategy, you got to get to root cause, right? And root cause can be centric around the asset. Oh, we had a bearing fail. We're going to put a transducer on it and make sure that we detect that failure, okay? Or it can be system centric, where, well, we had a bearing failure, but that bearing failure was cavitation. That cavitation was a temperature drop across the face of the pump, and that's going to be controlled by this valve way upstream. So this is where root cause analysis is now the silver lining into keeping your strategies evergreen. So when we talk about what do we want to do to focus on reliability, manage your downtime, understand it, reason codes, failure codes, symptom codes, and then do your causal analysis. And we're going to talk a little bit about root cause analysis and smartQED, and that's going to be a vision into your causal analysis, but it's also going to solve some AI stuff that I think we need to start considering for the future. So downtime, uptime, failure, root cause, and then return that back to the strategy that you had to make sure reliability is not overly complicated. I think over the years, we make it complicated to get a foothold into the industry to sell something that you've never heard of before. It's not hard. Just manage what you know, prioritize, execute, and then review, update.
Yes, and understanding the causes of your failure is most important, for to address it properly, right? So root cause analysis could not agree with you more. smartQED and ProSolver, both of them focus on root cause analysis. So with that, we move to the next question, which is from Terry.
Oh, you're on mute.
Terry, are you there?
He's on mute.
I am, but I'm on mute. Let's try that again. With digital transformation becoming more mainstream, what role do you see for AI in enhancing reliability?
I'm really excited, Terry, about digital transformation and AI, but I'm also very afraid. It's kind of like watching Star Wars. You don't know who you're going to get, Darth Vader or Anakin, right? I mean, the issue here is you really need to be future ready and understand this stuff to make digital transformation and AI work for you. It's not an easy button. You can't just say, well, we really don't have good data today, but we're going to go to AI and solve all that. Well, you still need good master data to do that. And then AI is going to create an overwhelming amount of transactional data. So here's where I see AI enhancing reliability. AI has the ability to predict failures faster and cheaper. And the definition of failure here is it's not failure with a defect already present. It's a failure based on data sources coming in and saying, hey, do you remember that pump where we did a root cause analysis on the bearing and found out it was a valve, and now we're monitoring the valve? Well, guess what? AI is saying the valve is now fluctuating. It's now in the environment to create that pressure drop across the pump, which is going to fail the bearing in 6 months from now. So now we're going to go and adjust this and make sure that the temperature doesn't come across. So this is truly proactive. This is the crystal ball stuff where we're saying, hey, we have all these variables that are indicating that the environment is right to create a fault. That fault left unresolved is going to create a defect. Once we hit that defect, it's irreversible. Now we're in failure, and now that degree of failure is going to be managed through maintenance. Right, we're going to get there, fix it faster and cheaper, and we're going to have downtime. But we didn't eliminate the failure, right? So I'm really excited about that part. Here's where we need to be very cautious. You need good hierarchy to do this work. You need good master data, and you also need new sources of information from sensors. They are cheaper, but it still costs a lot of money to put in there. So from a greenfield perspective, it's going to be designed in. Now, you got to cross your fingers and hope that the budget's not cut to do all that stuff. In a brownfield, these new technologies are easily bolted on, but it comes at a cost, just like maintenance and reliability. So I can see where it's going to be a challenge where reliability and strategies were a really interesting thing, and everybody said yes, but then they cut it because it took too much time. I can see where AI is going to say, well, it's really interesting, but it's costing us a lot of money to retrofit our place to take all that information. Now, let's say we do that. We're going to now create a mountain of information. And we already talked about one of the key challenges here is resources. We're going to run out of people and money before we run out of predictions, because AI is going to do them faster and cheaper. And the reality is, some of these predictions are going to be like when it picks up that temperature differential across a pump and we do quite a really quick adjustment. But it's also going to pick up other things that are going to require, we don't really know what the root cause here is. So that requires work. So unfortunately, AI is going to drive a constraint in the resources and root cause. And so that root cause has to be faster and cheaper and templated as well to make sure it can keep up, because we need to be able to execute work faster. We need to find ways to do that. And the fastest way is spending 90% of our time executing in the future, as opposed to 90% of our time finding out root causes. So that's going to be an opportunity in the future. So we're going to require the good data, and strategies will change. AI is going to change. Can you imagine? We tell our kids that there used to be a coily cord at the end of our phone, and it used to be 20 feet long, and we'd run around from room to room to talk to people. And now we think that's funny. I think in the future, AI is going to make building strategies kind of that kind of conversation. You remember, Terry, when we used to handwrite strategies and then type them into the system and then come out as a calendar? Can you imagine doing that today? That's going to be the conversation, because AI is going to say, hey, I've got the algorithm. I'm picking this up. It's going to be 6 months. They're going to drop a real-time strategy in your schedule for you when it's required, right? And then AI is going to monitor all the corrective work that comes in and say, oh, guess what? We've gotten some corrective work that is now competing against this strategy fine that we had. We're going to move that up and get it done, right? So, I mean, this whole reliability thing with AI is going to change a lot of how we do things. It won't change what reliability is. It won't change the definition, but it's going to change who does it, and it's going to change how. And that's going to be really exciting. Now, this is where Anakin comes in and Darth Vader. If reliability engineers don't recognize that this is happening, it's going to be Darth Vader. They're going to look and they're going to say, oh, it's too late. Data sciences have taken over reliability. Or you take a look behind you, you see it coming, you retool, and you get ready. And the reality is, it doesn't, the who does not have to change, but if we don't pay attention to it, it will change on us, because we do not have academically things in our system that train people in reliability. These are the assumptions and biases that could kill this for us as reliability professionals. We assume that engineers out of school are prepared to do reliability, and we are biased in that direction. And that has really got us to where we are today, where not many people are good at this, and there's a reason for it. So I think AI is going to be really, really exciting. Got to get prepared for it, and we got to make sure we understand it. And I think it's going to change how we do reliability.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like what you said is not a lot of people are inherently good at this. It's kind of a skill that you seem to either possess or you don't. And in addition, there's a lot of human change items you have to keep track of as well, in terms of, like you said, the who is going to change, and oftentimes the people whose job that is today don't want to give that up. So you have to kind of deal with some of those angles.
I agree, and I think the issue here is, Terry, it's like Uber. And the taxis. You remember when Uber came out and the taxis all got wound up, and the taxi said, no, I'm going to fight for current state, as opposed to, hey, you know what? We can do that. Right. And they almost lost their industry, right? Reliability professionals are in the same boat. And we could have a whole conversation around competence and reliability. Just because you have a Bachelor of Arts degree doesn't mean you're a lawyer. Just because you have a science degree doesn't mean you're a doctor. Just because you're a business degree doesn't mean you are a financial person, right? They all have designations after the fact, and it goes to a higher level. Reliability is the only function in our industry that we can grandfather and take a title and put it, and I tell people all the time, just put reliability in your title. Nobody's going to stop you. Right? And it's really hurting us, because if you really want to improve your reliability, you really have to improve how we build out our competence. And I applaud all those companies that want CMRP and certification. But the reality is 95% of all job applications have no designation for reliability required. And they're getting exactly what they're asking for.
Yes, ironically.
It's not what they need.
Exactly.
So I think we need human transformation before digital transformation.
I think digital transformation is going to be great, Julie. I think you're right, though. I think we need to, making it digital means it's going to be more efficient.
Yes.
Right? There will be some effectiveness stuff, because there's always going to be technology that takes away competence and error proofs places. But let's Pareto that and say 80% of the time it's an efficiency gain. If you're doing it wrong today, you can efficiently do it wrong tomorrow way faster. So we just have to be cautious, because I think this is really about friend or foe. If you're ready for it, it's going to be your friend. If you're not ready for it, you're going to get left behind.
Agree.
Yes, totally agree. And I also, still thinking about what you said at the beginning, that, and even now, that people just automatically assume that you can say I'm a reliability expert, but it's a field, and you need to understand the the theory behind it. How do you increase it? It's a long-term play. You don't see reliability in like a minute, right? You have to work towards it. There has to be a strategy. It has to be measured. It has to be it has to have a roadmap, right? It has to have a plan. And I honestly think we humans sometimes trivialize these exercises, but without a plan, you're going to get there. You might get there quicker, but you'll get to the wrong place.
Yeah, and I think one of the bigger issues is industry has a promotion regime where you're only in your role for a year to 18 months. So when you get help when you go and start to do work, that has to have a result in half that time, right? So we all know that reliability is not achieved and a major improvement less than 3 years. And so most of the work that's done is a facade to build out a resume of accomplishments, and you don't accomplish much in a year in reliability. It's an investment. And that's one of the bigger issues, because everybody, well, we're spending all this money, it's a cost. I say, well, if it's a cost, get rid of it, right? But if you can do reliability and you can produce more product than you could before you did reliability, and that cost revenues more money than you're spending, i.e. if you got a $10 million maintenance budget and you created more production that gave you 20 million, then you become a profit center, right? You've made $10 million over and above what you would have done inherently without reliability and maintenance. And so people don't have that concept that it's an investment. You have to invest in it, just like your retirement, let it grow. And you would never put your money in an investment for your retirement if it lost money, right? We take it out, right? So I tell people all the time, if you have maintenance and reliability and you're not getting any money from it, i.e. more production, stop doing it. This whole business model is built inherently into reliability. We're not going to give you a strategy if it doesn't pay back.
I think it all comes down to measurement, like you said before. It's really like, should not be like reliabilities, and it's like a, it's a burden, it's like an overhead. That's because I think people are not measuring the benefits of it, right? Even higher customer satisfaction. I remember, we used to write up questionnaires. Oh, do you like the UI? Well, do you like using our system? Well, do you think the system is reliable? I think that is a critical question. Your customer satisfaction is ultimately affected by how much reliable you are. So I do think that don't you agree, Terry, that the measurement of the efforts towards reliability are not really very common these days? Nobody talks, hey, my system is more reliable, but it should be.
You're on mute, Terry.
Terry, sorry. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I have dogs in my house and they are very barky. That's why I keep muting myself. Yes, I agree, Julie.
Yes.
I think that's an interesting point, Julie, because companies don't talk about reliability and maintenance if everything is working well, right? If everybody's hitting production at cost or lower with the safety that they're looking for, like zero incidents, nobody talks about this stuff. We only talk about it when we're not producing or the performance is low or safety is less than desirable. And then it becomes these buzzwords. I get into meetings about reliability. So, well, our reliability is bad because we lost production. And I said, well, okay, but production's an impact. You failed once in 4 years. It's not a big reliability. I said, you have a problem with impact. Reliability, you failed once in 4 years. That's good, right? Or you could have companies that fail 10 times a day, but don't impact production very much. So understanding the difference between maintainability and reliability becomes essential, right? Because you could be working on all the wrong things, i.e. you could fail 10 times in a week and drop down 1 percentage point in availability, right? You got surge protection. They're very, very quick outages, right? 2 minutes, 10 minutes, right? Or you could have a company that has a major fire and they're down for 6 months, but they had one big failure in 5 years, right? So these are all aspects of where you want to work. So when you understand this stuff, it makes your prioritization much easier, right? I've seen companies spend tens of millions of dollars on a failure that happened once in 1,000 years. And well, why are we? That's never going to happen like that again. So let's move on, right? These black swan events or the weekend warrior stuff is not really your prioritization tool, right? Like companies prioritize based on what brings them in on the weekend. And sometimes that's really not the right thing to do.
Yep, agree. So moving on to the next question. So this is a little more technical. How would you compare root cause analysis versus, the FMEA, which is, I believe, came from the US military? Can the two approaches complement each other?
So I put a lot of thought into this. As you know, I'm a big fan of smartQED. I'm a big fan of root cause analysis, because if you're not improving your failure rate, you're not improving your reliability. And of course, FMEA has become a foundational starting point for strategies in order to make sure your assets or your services perform. And so when I started thinking about the natural failure sequence versus FMEA and RCA, they all share the same three variables. You have a cause, you have a mode, and you have an effect, right? So if your asset just fails unannounced, you have a defect or a fault that happens, it creates a cause, it fails based on a mode, and then you have an effect. In an FMEA, you start with the mode of failure, you understand how it impacts you or the effect, and then you create strategies to mitigate a cause. And then RCA starts with the effect. Something happened, you got impacted. That effect is derived to a mode, and then you go and do root cause. So all three, the inherent failure sequence versus proactively trying to figure out how it could fail versus how you reactively understand why it failed, all have the same three elements: cause, mode, and effect. And I think you're solving for X here, depending on where you are in the process, right? And so I think it's critical that you understand these things, because they're interchangeable. You have information that you might have an X somewhere, you might not have the mode, but you have the cause and effect. So the reality is the FMEA is your starting point, and then your RCA or your root cause analysis is your endpoint when you have a failure, the silver lining approach, i.e., and that goes back and say, well, we had a failure, so let's understand it. And then you go back and say, did we have a strategy for this? Yes, we did. Let's check the FMEA and the RCMs. Okay, we made some assumptions here, but now that we've done our root cause analysis, now we've demonstrated that our assumptions were poor, or we missed a mode or an effect or a cause, and now we can update. And so your root cause analysis is really mitigating the next failure and updating your strategies. And so when you consider that you have the same three variables on your natural inherent failure versus your proactive versus your reactive approach, now you can use those information across all the elements of FMEA and RCA. And as a reliability person, FMEA is kind of like a sophisticated wild ass guess in some of this stuff, where root cause analysis is the truth, right? And this is where I would say 5% of all your work orders that go through your system are highest priority. And what I measure is the root cause analysis performed on the highest priority work. If you're not doing root cause to your highest priority, there's a good chance your reliability is going to be sustained at a low level. This is the easy button here, the root cause analysis. And once we get to a culture of root cause analysis to your high priority work orders, your strategies become evergreen. You probably have heard lots of companies, hey, we've got to review all our strategies for our assets or our services every 5 years. And my question is, why? Why aren't you doing that every time you execute a work order? Why aren't you doing that every time you do a causal analysis? The reality is it's in front of you every day, and it's dynamic. And if you're always waiting every 10 years, you're missing out on an opportunity to mitigate something. So to me, I think they are one and the same variables, different approaches based on what leads and what lags. And I think if you don't have one, you don't have the other. And I think having an FMEA without a root cause analysis program is a huge missed opportunity.
Yes, agree. And it's, proactive versus reactive, but ultimately both of them have to be used if you want to enhance the reliability, right? It's
absolutely. Now, here's where it gets really complicated. Let's say we enable AI. And now we're doing multitudes of predictions that require root cause analysis. And now your root cause analysis is based on paper or other tools, right? You're not going to be able to keep up to root cause analysis, right? We go back to the old ways, right? Where we spend 90% of our time looking for our opportunity and predictions, 5% prioritizing, and 5% doing, right? And the reality is our resources and money match the 5% doing, right? But with AI, we're going to spend 5% of our time predicting instead of 90. Then we're going to spend 5% of our time prioritizing, and then we're going to have 90% of our time left over for doing. So that doing has to be much, much faster and cheaper, because we're going to run out of resources, money and people, if we keep doing it the traditional way. So here's where my pitch is for smartQED. smartQED allows us to template things, to save things, to reuse them, to start to create a better starting point for things as it relates to root cause analysis. So if you've got 90% of your opportunity to do, but you only have 5% of the opportunity available to you through resources, you need to be smarter, you need to be faster, and you need to leverage past work templates, right? And
Yes.
this is where I think smartQED, and I'm only saying that, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, my screen went blank. Oh, there it goes. This is where a smart tool like smartQED allows us to not get caught in this AI build of opportunities that we can't handle. We need, if we're going to get faster and cheaper in our predictions, we need to get faster and cheaper with our execution of work. And execution of work includes root cause analysis. And I think having an FMEA and RCA, to me, this is just two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
And then smartQED is the complement to AI, because AI does not do decisions. AI does not get you to root cause. AI gives you a faster and cheaper prediction that has a flag in the ground that says, come look at me, or go adjust something real quick. So to me, I think this is starting to blend together for a digital transformation. And that's where QED comes in the transformation of this thing. And we're digitally transforming what root cause analysis used to be.
Yes, thank you so much for your endorsement of smartQED, Rob. It really matters to us because you are an expert in the industry. You actually lived it. And we will take, possibly a quote out of this presentation to put on our website, because you are exactly correct. The templating gives you a starting point. It's one of the most popular features of our product when we show it to clients, even for the first time. There is nobody that has said we don't need templates, because that is where your prior knowledge, it's knowledge, right? So the FMEA is like knowledge, and root cause is something, analysis, RCA is something you do at the time the fire has happened already. But what are the possible causes of fire? That is your prior knowledge. And today they are captured, in the form of text, and you have to read and understand. So there is a gap, there isn't a straightforward way of using what for root cause analysis. So I really think that smartQED helps to bridge that gap, if you know what I mean, right? So you have a template, and now you have a problem, a fire. Well, what could have caused the fire? So you should be able to use that very easily. And thank you so much, Rob, for your endorsement of smartQED. By the way, I didn't introduce myself and Terry. Terry and I are co-founders of smartQED, and we really looking forward to making a difference in the field of reliability. So maybe, Rob, we end the webinar with the key takeaways. What would you like the people to remember? Maybe two things, or at the most 3 things that people should always keep in mind.
Well, I got a couple. I got more than 3, so I'll try to bring it back down. So understand reliability. I mean, truly understand what it is and why you're doing it. Digital transformation. So that's one. Digital transformation. Ask why you're doing it, right? I mean, everybody. This is the buzzword. Everybody's going to go after it. Everybody's going to spend money, but make sure that you have a business model that supports why you're digitally transforming and going to AI. AI is going to be a problem for some people, because we used to say we never have time to do it right once, but we always have time to do it twice. AI, you're not going to have time to do it twice. It's every day there's that pile of opportunity and predictions is building and building and building. You're not going to have time to do it twice. So let's start doing it right once. Have a long-range plan. I know road mapping takes a little bit of time, but it's a one-time investment with an annual update to it. Reliability and maintenance does not change very much over the years. It's really about making sure you cover your bases, have your programs, understand it all, and then build out the acumen to support it. So make sure that we have a roadmap. And then
but
embrace.
Please don't limit yourself to 3. Please, I would love to hear more about the key takeaways. The roadmap is great, yes, but there's more.
Yeah. So FMEA, RCA, if you're only doing FMEA and no RCA, root cause analysis, you're all the work you've done up front is going to be stale. Make sure that you understand that root cause analysis is the silver lining in your failure. So let's take advantage of that. We talked a lot about this, but AI will provide more opportunity to improve, but you'll need a faster approach to it. And that's where smartQED is an option to make sure that we get through all these predictions and make sure we get the cause and update things. And then we talked about the templates. Templates, we don't have time to do it twice anymore. AI is going to absorb everything and build mountains and mountains of data, mountains and mountains of predictions. So let's get good at it once and solve the problem, and then that doesn't come back.
Yes, I think that is the perfect way to end this webinar, that we want to solve a problem so it never returns. And for that, you have to have a plan, you have to have a roadmap. It's not magic. It's a lot of planning and execution, but first thing I think is to have the vision. And if I think, Rob, that's the main point you made, you have to have a vision for reliability and then plan for it and then execute it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you again for attending and listening to the webinar. Follow our company pages for more webinar announcements and sharing of knowledge from experts like Rob. We are on LinkedIn, smartQED and ProSolver. You can participate in this community webinars, perhaps in panel discussions, and contribute as a speaker. Please send me email or reach out on LinkedIn. And to take the next steps for your business or enterprise, we help you get there. The digital transformation sounds like a wonderful goal, but you have to have a vision and a plan to get there. So we offer team workshops and expert consulting in partnership with people like Rob. So you can reach out to ron.spencer@smartqed.com or find us on LinkedIn. With that, I think I'm going to stop the presentation. Thank you again for attending, and the recording will be up for reference, and we will take maybe a few key takeaways and put it up on LinkedIn for sharing. Thank you, Rob, so much for sharing your thoughts. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect. Thank you to all the attendees.